Hello and welcome back to Jesse's Vintage Garage. We're going to be working on some electrical work here on the 68 in this video. We're going to need a good starting point here with the battery box probably, and then work on laying out the wire and everything. So this whole unit here kind of goes together in a group. So we have the oil tank, brackets for it, and then the actual battery box, battery holder piece slides down there with it. We'll be going over all that. So starting off, we'll go get the oil tank ready to go. Got a couple things to do here real quick, and then we'll get started. Well, we're finally to the point now where we're able to put the oil tank on, or install it. I kind of wanted to have a magnetic drain plug because these reproduction drain plugs don't have magnetic ones in it. I don't probably really need one, but because it has a filter that goes in this big hole right here. So actually, it won't hurt nothing to put a magnetic one in. But anyway, I didn't want to go with the brass one. I've been looking around and trying to find them, and I found a brass one. It has a magnet in it, but it's not correct thread pitch. It says at the place where I was going to buy it from, it says 3/8 28. This is not 3/8 28 plug or hole. This is a 3/8 26 plug and 3/8 26 hole, and size. I didn't want to run brass because it's supposed to be cadmium looking. So, yeah, anyways, it won't take much to turn this correct looking plug for a 68 into a magnetic drain plug. So, I'm just going to make it on my own. So, I got a really strong magnet right here. And it looks like it's an eighth of an inch thick. And all I got to do is just, pretty much drill a hole pretty much in the center. The center would be probably the best, but if I'm off just a shade, then that's fine too. But I'll drill a 1/8 hole in here, about half the depth that this length is, and then secure it with red Loctite, and that should be the ticket. And then there you go. I have my magnetic drain plug, and its correct shape and everything, and finish. Not too hard to do. Pretty simple, as long as you can find the magnets. That's probably the hardest part, because these plugs are readily available everywhere you look. Here we are. We got the hole drilled a good ways in, about half of the distance that magnet was, and I'm pretty centered. Pretty impressed with that, I guess. Might be off a little bit, and it didn't damage any of the finish here by putting in the soft jaws and stuff. So, and I was able to hold it. Yeah. So now I'm just gonna drop a little drop of red Loctite in there, and drop this in there. That way it secures it and doesn't have to worry about it ever coming out. I mean, the magnet part of it probably would keep it in there, but I mean, it's pretty strong. So I mean, but it'll be better with it being secured with the red Loctite. So I'll just drop a little bit in real quick and we'll have it done. Here we are. See if I can get that in there. It wants to do its own thing. It's almost squared out, but there we go. I can wipe off the excess and there'll be some in there. Well, there we are. I got a magnetic drain plug for my 68 Triumph Bonneville now. Perfect. So I'll be able to put this in there and put the oil tank on. So ready now that I've got this finished up, you just saw it a little bit ago, I got to turn this into a magnetic drain plug. We're ready to put this all together. We're going to install this piece, and we're going to install the filter for the line filter there. And it's kind of hard to get to when this is all in the bike because it hangs down a little ways. I don't want to bend this any when I go to put it in. I mean, there might have been some clearance there, but we're going to just save problems, hopefully that way. And then we have to install this. This piece is the bottom bracket for the oil tank here. This rubber piece pops into this hole here, and then it's isoelastic in a way. It keeps the vibration minimized. Yep. And this gets bolted into the frame back there. And then these other parts up here, we got right here laid out. They get an isoelastic piece here too that goes in the end, and then a little rubber washer and a bolt on this end. Both of those.
This is the rubber pieces.
Yeah, these pieces here has the threaded stud.
They go up here
onto them little brackets on the oil tank.
Yeah.
So this
the
all
battery box bolts to this.
yeah. So this part holds the battery box and isolates it so it can move around if it needs to, and then the battery box itself slides over top of these two pieces and gets held on into place with a couple special nuts I had laying here, but I don't see them right now. But yeah, it's called a spigot nut. And yeah, let's go ahead and just get this all mocked up and ready to go on the bike. Okay, so here we go. We're gonna put this in here. It wants to like grab onto the tank, so that's kind of neat, nice. This will help keep the whatever's in the oil from going through the whole bike. And then this filter also helps with that too. So
Stops the big stuff.
we'll just tighten it up. That's a 3/8/26 thread, and that's what the 68 style plug looks like. I think I talked about that before when I was making it magnetic. And then it's a large Whitworth wrench.
Or 1.1/8 fits it.
1.1/8 fits this one.
Yeah.
And then this Whitworth wrench here fits on there.
5/16. Nope, quarter.
No, I grabbed the wrong
Oh,
wrench. It's this one. It's the big one.
Probably 5/16.
Yeah, you're right.
I was right first time when I said 5/16. We can tighten it the rest of the way on the bike.
Yeah, we can get to that. And then it's just kind of hard to get this huge socket in there underneath there. I probably won't be running the oil lines in this video, but we'll get close.
Okay.
Alright.
It's tight.
Okay, we're getting ready to put this in. I got all the rubber pieces installed. I got the top two in, and then I have this bottom one in. You can't put the screwed pegs in yet, so it's kind of difficult because this has to go in and up and back like this. It's gonna take us really to. Maybe we can do it here like this. I gotta be real careful though. Yeah, I got the oil tank up here. All right, it was kind of hard to see it. I had to put the camera down, but we hooked it, and then we got it up there. We got it up out of the way so you can put the bottom bracket in right now. Sliding into that rubber.
Yeah. Probably should have put that in first and put the rubber in second.
It's pretty close.
Yeah, I know, but
There we are. We got the bolt installed down there. Now that was a 24 thread bolt. It's just one of the few on this bike that are like that. And this bracket here is adjustable and movable.
if you turn, the tank moves, but you want to put it in a relaxed state, and you don't want the oil line to hit this bracket or hit the where the swing arm bolts to. You want it to go right through the middle of this, and right here is where it wants to relax real nice. So we're going to leave it right there.
Yeah. Now when he's talking about when he goes to move this, is the clearance here jumps around. So
it changes.
yeah, we got it right where we want it. So nice clearance there, equal. So yeah, this is a three. I think it was like a 3/8. No, 5/16 24 bolt.
Is it?
Yeah.
So it'll be a 1/2 inch.
Yeah, 1/2 inch head. And then we did get the screwed pegs in here. We used brake clean and we slid them in through this way, really nice. And then once they lined up, then we put the nut and washer on both of them, like that. So
Here, run a loop up to here.
okay,
Wire a hose down.
we're talking about this JH pipe. This is kind of a notorious thing from 67 to 68, 69 piece. And it's a breather pipe setup. And this original line here is in pretty good shape. And anyways, we're gonna hook into it. And I'm not really for sure exactly how the original setup would be, but I've seen a couple of different pictures how they loop around a hose around the back side of the frame and go out the back. I don't really want to have any sort of oil vapor all over everything, so the best bet would be to get the vent to the ground as fast as possible. So we're gonna run the drain or the breathing line all the way down through here. So yeah, I think that's how we're gonna set it up. Whether it's perfect and accurate or not, it's gonna be probably the best setup, because the other part on the top here, this line goes to the
Top of the oil tank.
oil tank right there. Yeah.
To the froth tower.
Here we are. We got all the battery box stuff all assembled here. Here's where those brackets come across here and hook into here. Here's the spigot nut, looks like that. And then over here we have the sandwich. So we got a rubber washer in between these two pieces, the oil tank and this bracket. And this is all tightened up. And we have this installed. We heated up the hose, get a little bit on the soft side, and we slid that right in. So that's gonna look good. Oh, we hooked up the spring onto the rear brake switch, and that's ready to go. And oh, the rectifier. We put the rectifier back here. I believe that's where it was originally at. It looks pretty good. And the wires are all nice and coming out there, and it'll hook up nice. And then we have the Zener diode mounted to the front here. That's exactly how it's supposed to be too, like that. So according to some pictures I've seen. So we're ready to go on to some more stuff here. Alright, so I got the wiring harness kind of like just laying here. Obviously this goes to the front, and we started there and worked our way back. Got this looped here. We don't have it exactly where we want everything at, because we need to figure that out as we go. But we get back to here, we have the rectifier hooked up here. So we know that these three wires are for the rectifier. This is going to a battery, and then our brown one over there is going to a battery. So we have this as a good starting point.
These are taillight wires.
And yeah, those are taillight wires. We gotta work on the taillight wire yet, and then we gotta like figure out how we're gonna route all this and get it to all line up everywhere. So that's where we're gonna start. All right, we got the wiring harness secured back here. We have everything hooked up back here pretty much. We have it all plugged in again, and we've got our battery sitting in here we're gonna use, and it's tied down. Now, when you get these shorty batteries, they come with like foam and stuff that come with it or whatever, and they're just like bulky and stuff, and it doesn't fit right. So we just use this wire tie here to tie it down, and it looks like it's gonna be secure. Doesn't want to move much. Then we run the wire back this way to the front, and then we come underneath the rear section of the frame here, and then we tied it off with a zip tie here. Well, the alternator wires are going down the backbone here, and then it's hooked up to the alternator down there. We ran this wire to the, we're gonna have to tie this off yet. We got it sitting down here right now for the rear.
We're going to hook up the brake switch here.
Brake
That's
switch.
next.
And then going forward here, we grounded this, we took this ground wire here and tied it into here.
To ground the motor.
Yeah, to ground the motor. So
to the wiring harness.
And then we wire tied this up here to hold it in place. So we're good so far here. Now we're coming up to this cluster of wires here.
Coils mounting here somewhere. This is the ignition and coils. This stuff here goes up into the headlight bucket. These wires here are the horn wires.
Yeah, and our horn mounts up here.
And this is black and white, and this is ignition wires. Black and yellow and black and white are ignition.
So we're going to take those and we're going to go down the front part of the frame here and go over to the other side. And our horn mounts here, I believe. And yeah, like you said, the coil mounts in here. So we're going to get that all set up here quick. Alright, so these are the original coils that came with the bike. They're not the original ones, but they were in 68. But
they're PVLs. Somewhere it says it. There we go. PVL, which is a very, very good coil.
And then we're going to switch them out because we're going to run a Tri-Spark in this bike. And we got to have 6-volt coils. So I got a set of Tri-Spark actual 6-volt coils here.
Which are very good coils too.
Yeah, so we're going to be running those. So we got to switch them out, and we'll get this bracket and the coil bracket all installed here in a minute. We have the Tri-Spark coils installed, and we have the mounted to the frame now, and we're ready to figure out how the wires are going to come down and hook into here and start routing our wire down to our point cover there. So we got the spark plug wires hooked up. I ran the wire for the other coil group to around the other side here, and it's coming out over here. And we'll work on that later. We got this loom coming up to the front here. And we got the switch mount hooked up, and we have the rubber boot on there.
There's a brown and white wire. It goes to the single side of the switch. We'd pull this off, but we had a heck of a time getting this boot on. There's a double white wire like this one, okay, just like this one. And if you ohm the two, they beep. Okay, so it goes on one side of the switch. Show my finger. One side of the switch has a U-shape terminal for 2 wires, and one has a single spade for a single wire. The brown and white wire, which also goes to the zener, which is going to be referred to as the hot wire, goes on the single. And the double one gets the double white wire and a white wire with a brown stripe. You see that there? They go on the double one. And the white with the brown stripe also will go up later up into the headlight, into this ignition, into this light switch, one of these terminals. And that turns your lights on and off when the key switch is on.
Right.
So right now we got the ignition switch done. We had to take the switch out to get this boot on. Wow, it was tough.
And you want the boot on because the wires are exposed otherwise.
So now we're going to put the boot back, or the switch back in. There we go.
Yeah, so on this side we got like I was showing a little bit ago, the wires coming down. One of these grounds will probably go on one of the coils. And we'll have to change this all out when we start hooking up the Tri-Spark, which will probably come out in a different video. But anyways, our ignition wire from down here, we have that ran too. So it's going to come back through here, reroute it through here and along here. Now the other thing we got to make yet coming up will be we're going to install the oil pressure switch down here instead and run this differently than it was in 68. So we'll be talking about that coming up. Okay, so with doing the pressure switch light, we wanted to indicate the red. So with a lot of the older bikes, and including this one, and according to a subscriber that had mentioned in one of the earlier videos that we were talking about doing the headlamp, that I end up getting the indicator lights backwards or wrong. The green one should be on the right and the red should be on the left, and it's kind of hard to tell that in the parts book, and I'm glad I got pointed out that was a mistake that I had made, and I'm pointing out now that I coming clean on my mistake, and then we're going to switch this around because my 71 Tiger and Bonneville, the green's on the right and the red's on the left also, and I want them all the same, and it makes perfect sense to see that my problem now. And then on this bike over here, I'll see what that one looks like too. Okay, I know you've seen this in the background. This is a 72 Norton, of course, Commando Combat, and it has indicator light, green on the right and red on the left also. So we're going to make all these bikes look the same. So I'm going to switch mine on my 68 Triumph over there. But anyway, this bike's in really good shape, but we don't really talk about it much, or even had to do any really work on it lately. We restored it a long time ago, back when we did the other Combat, but we made this one kind of like a stock style. And this, if you remember this color blue, this was on the Mark III when we picked it up, and we converted it to being the blue on this bike.
Yeah, this bike used to be red.
And yeah, it was a red bike. But the red, when we had it repainted years ago, the guy that painted it didn't quite get the red right. And this blue looks amazing, so we used it. It was supposed to be
candy apple red.
Yeah.
And it's not.
Yep.
I mean, it's a nice color, but it's just wrong.
So anyways,
I like the blue better.
Yeah. I mean, even sporting the stock air cleaner. I mean, we have this thing right the way it needs to be for being a kind of a stock bike. But anyways, back to the 68. You can talk about this some other time.
In the middle.
Okay, so right now we're working on the switch here. It's a 3-position switch. It's not really. Well, anyways, what I'm getting at is it's off right now in the far left position, on in the center, and on in the far right. And I think that's how I want to set up my my headlight. That way, it's, I mean, 'cause there's more finger room right here where this groove's at, from what I can see when I go to turn it on and off. So this would be off, on, and then on again.
So all you'll do is just turn it to there and be on, and then that'll be off.
Yeah, and then this would be like an accessory if I wanted to add like some stuff, something on there. But I'm not gonna. So I mean, there we go. So you can see better now. Like, cause back in the day, you'd be able to buy like a fairing, let's say, and it would mount to like this bracket right here on the frame, and you could have like marker lights and stuff. Well, I'm not gonna put that on. so we just need off and on. So that's how we'll do it for that.
Now I can do this, so too. Yeah, right. That's off. Yep, that's how it is.
Yeah. So like on this Norton over here, the switch right here, it's a 2-position switch. It's off straight up, and you flip it once to the right to turn it on. It doesn't go to the left. This is a real Norton Lucas switch on this bike. So unlike our aftermarket one that we got on that 68, but it's not a big deal. But just pointing that out. Okay, so we got this wired now to that switch terminal that we were just messing with, and right now, with the key being off, you were saying something?
Yeah, if the key's off and the light switch is on, the lights will be out as soon as the key is off. Now, if we turn the key on right now, the headlight would come on, and if we don't want the headlight and tail light on, then we'd shut it off here and leave it off. And back in the old days, before they had lights on all the time, that's how people used to run them. They used to not use the headlights till it got dark. So this would be the off position. And the best way to have that is so that when you turn the key on and off, you shut the bike off. You don't want to leave the lights on. You run the battery dead during the daytime.
Right.
So for daytime running lights, we want to make sure we shut it off.
Because this light switch here would override the ignition switch, and the light would still be on.
The lights would be on all the time. Right. We don't want that. We want it to where we don't accidentally leave the lights on during the daytime.
Yeah, so now we're going to do some more wiring here. We got this pulled through pretty much. We got to pull it some more, but this is the horn and the high-low beams. Yeah, I couldn't think of it for a second. Yeah. Of course, we got way too much wire, but we'll deal with that. Otherwise, yeah, I think we'll move on to working on our oil pressure switch light now. And I do have them switched around, by the way. See that? It looks better this way. So working on the taillight here, we got the wire routed. We got it routed to come back this way along and loop across here and go in the hole. And then it's got to go into this bracket underneath. It's ready to go. We didn't put on it earlier when we were putting the fender on because we have to route the wire through here. So with the wire being in place now, I can put this around it. So we'll have to remove this bolt, slide this on, or actually just remove the nut for sure and slide this on. And then the other hole here goes into the taillight when it comes through right here. So I'm just going to put that on real quick. It goes on underneath here, of course. Right there. We're soldering the bolts back on. These were missing. And then we just put them on there and hopefully this does it.
Soldered them on.
So what are you doing here? You just pretty much put the wire in there and then draw the solder in from the hole there in the front?
Yes.
That's what I thought.
Didn't quite get sucked in like I wanted it to.
I need to just clean up the point on that bullet there. The focus to work there. There you go. Just clean that up a little bit. Or it'll clean it, otherwise it'll clean itself up when you go to put it in. So
yeah, it'll be fine.
You got the bracket installed there. You can kind of see it. Black right there. Yep, so then next we've got the bolt pieces installed here, and we'll be able to put the tail lamp on now and go from there. We changed how we routed the wire a little bit. This looks more realistic, like it might have been like this instead on the other side of the fender. And we came across here and just followed the frame rail here and then came up to here. And then we made like a little pigtail to go into the bullets up there. So that's pretty good. Now that we got the taillight pretty much working, I'll talk about something here in a minute. Got the lens off the taillight right now. I'm going to talk about lenses for a moment here, and then because we just got done getting the wiring to work pretty much. We'll go over there here in a second, but this was the original lens to the 68 that came with the bike. It's got a little bit of damage right there. I'll probably put that one back on because it does say all this special wording on it, you know, like England, SAE, ST, BL, and then 61 for the earlier ones. I'm going to show you the differences here in a second. And it says Lucas up here. It has all the right stuff. Now the one that I took off that I was going to run doesn't have it. It's a reproduction. It doesn't have any of the wording on it. Now this reproduction is made by Lucas again and does have wording on it. The font's just a little bit different, and it's got some extra stuff here written here. And it says SAE STAL 71. So it's a different design to the lens. Even though it's the same shape. The different design thing is they took the reflector out of the back of this, and they just left this here so it gives more light when it lit up. The original ones have a reflector built into it. Blocks off a lot of the extra light, so it just lights up this point right here. And then the car behind you or a vehicle behind you will reflect off that, and you kind of see a little bit more. And then extra light will go around the outside. So I'm going to run this. That's the difference between the different lenses. Because this one here was a cheaper one, and it doesn't have the reflector either. The new one just doesn't the same. Even though it's made by Lucas again, but it's probably more of a safer light because it's got more light coming out. But I think I'm just gonna go with this one. Alright, so I got the Lucas lens on here, and it looks really nice when it lights up. This is what a 68 taillight looks like. If the bracket, like housing like right here, doesn't look like this on the bike that you got or looking for, it's probably not the right taillight for that bike, but it should be shaped like this. And then this carried on from all the way to 70 until they changed it again. But anyways, let's see if I can get this thing to light up here. And yeah, see what it looks like. See there? Just lights up the bullet part pretty much. Nice. Okay, so up here in the headlight bucket, we have this bulb out yet, but we do have the oil pressure switch light put in. We've got our little wire we made hooked up right here and running down and out. All right, so coming out of the headlamp, we got our oil pressure wire coming down this way here, and then it comes down, skirts along with the ignition wires here. Of course, we have the horn installed here, you see that, and hooked up. It works, it's all original Lucas horn and everything, even original finish and everything. I didn't mess with the paint on that one. And then it comes down, comes out, and our oil pressure switch is installed here. Now, in one of the earlier videos with this, we talked about tapping this and doing all that stuff. But this is 28 thread, straight, and in 69 it was the first year of the oil pressure switch. So all the other bikes have oil lights, and I kind of wanted this bike to be red light to be an oil light instead of just a power on light only. It's kind of confusing for some people, not maybe myself, but that's what it is. That's what we'll have. We'll have oil pressure light instead. So yeah, now we're pretty much ready to static time this thing. And we'll be going over that possibly here if we have time. Oh, and then we'll do a whole video on just installing the Tri-Spark, because that might be more of an only topic instead of having to watch everything just to get to the end of this video and see that. So we'll just see what we can do there. Okay, so we're to the point now. We're gonna do a quick test on all electronics. Pretty much gonna check the horn, the high beam, the lights, and we already did test on the brake lights, so we're good there. But anyway, and then we'll go over all the wiring details here in a second. But after that, after this test here, so I got the battery hooked up. We got our ground, our positive here hooked up, and then our negative over here all hooked up. It's ready to go. So turn the key on here. All right, so then we got our lights are working. There's a change in the light there for flipping on the switch for the brights. Cool, that works. And then the taillight should be lit up. Yep. Okay, we're good there. So I guess all we have left really is gauge lights, which we don't have them installed yet, which we'll do them later down the road. And of course our red light's lit up here. And we don't have our, yeah, that's our oil pressure light. So yeah, our red light's working. Our high beam light should light up over there. We don't have it installed yet though. Okay, then I guess loud noise warning. We're gonna have to see if this horn works. Yep, there we go. With working on the gauges here, getting the lights, the gauge lights to work here, we have to run coming off the wiring harness comes up this brown with this green stripe, and that's actually feeding negative power to the bulb holders. And then our ground over here, or red, positive, it's coming up here, and we need this to go to both of the gauge cups. So over there, that one has the ring on it going to that, and then we have a jumper wire coming across to this other gauge here. And then we got the lights. We made our own little pigtail for that, so we'll show you that here in a minute. But that's kind of how you got to have it wired up. So that's the wires you're looking for there. So the gauges call for a bulb holder that kind of looks like this. It's kind of really hard to find this exact one. And then when you do go to places like Feekt and other places, they send you a different one. They send you this Lucas one. And it's this part number here, LU54573590, which actually looks like the pilot bulb socket here. Looks a lot like that one. So we had to make our own. We took the two we got from Feekt, this one here, and then we made it look like this.
With heat shrink.
Yeah, with heat shrink. And that way this shiny part of the bulb holder wouldn't be all out there for everybody to see and all gaudy. So we kind of camouflaged it with this black heat shrink. I got an LED bulb in here. The bucket, or the cup I just showed you was is grounded, so this pop in there, be grounded. We take this and plug it into our negative, the power, right?
Yep, power.
And then we just need to have
ground.
two of them. Yeah, we need to have two of them. So this would have been positive up here. So yeah, then we just plug it into a two thing, and then we plug it into this one here. There we go. We got it plugged in. Now we just got to pop them up in there. They go in kind of hard, which is a good thing because then they won't fall out. Here we are. Now we'll turn the key on and the lights on. They should light up the gauges. Now they won't be super bright, which I don't want them to be super bright, but yeah, we don't want them to be dark either. There, I got the flash on in the camera, but you can tell that they're coming on.
They're lit up.
Oh yeah, they are. You can tell.
If you take your flash off the camera,
Yeah, I'll do that here in a second.
you can see it.
There we are. See? about as bright as it'll be. And it's pretty bright enough. It's bright enough because when you're running down the road, you only need to see about 60, 70, 80 anyway. And the rest of it's dark. Shouldn't be going 150 at night anyway, right? And then we did try the high beam stuff, and the light does, the pilot light, or the light for the indicator is right here. It does come on. You'll have to switch on again just to confirm that, I guess. Yeah, there you go. Turn the brights on. Yeah, see, there's our light for our socket.
High beam. It'll go in there once we...
Yeah, we're about ready to put this in here now. So, yep, see there? Okay. All right, we're going to do an overview of the wiring here real quick and then finish up here.
The brown, in this case, the brown with the green stripe is like your lights. So it'd be the tail light. The solid brown one goes down to the brake switch and goes up through here and goes to the tail light. And it's energized by a white wire. And a white wire is a hot wire that runs out through the whole loom. White wire is basically a power wire. And so it's a main power. So these are like, let's call these switch legs, because it's the brown with the green stripe. They got different stripes and different colors, so you know what they are. Okay, so in this case, this is the tail light. The solid brown one is the brake light. That runs all the way up through the loom, and it comes all the way out and comes out into here, except for the solid brown one. The solid brown one doesn't. It stops at the brake lights.
Brake light.
But the brown and green continues to come all the way up to here. So here's the brown with the green stripe. Okay, so what this does, this wire is basically like for your running light here, your gauge lights, and so forth. Now to hook up power for your headlight, what we did there is we hooked out of the switch up here. There's high, low, and power. So what it amounts to is you got a blue wire, which is the power wire for the headlights. Okay, so that I plugged into. I needed to make a jumper because I need to get into the brown and green. So I went into there, made a jumper, and I hooked the blue wire into that. I hooked the brown and green wire off of this light there, and then the blue with a white stripe and a blue with a red stripe. Now, you're running a LED headlight, and one of the things we found with the LED headlights is the beams are backwards according to the switch. So I had to change blue with a white stripe to a blue with a red, and a blue with a red stripe to a blue with a white. I had to do that so that when you turn the headlight on, you want high beam, switch up. It only makes sense when you flip up, you get the upper beam. You flip it down, you get the low beam or the low dip. So in order to make that happen, I had to swap them two around. If I put a standard bulb in, it's the other way around. So it's the bulb. I don't know why it's that way. But the blue and the white wire is your high beam indicator. That still stayed with the blue and the white wire. And so that went up into that'll go up into there. I take this blue hot wire that comes over here that was also into the brown and the green. I energized all of that with the switch here, with bringing a blue wire from this four-way, which couples into the brown and the green. This switch is going to power all these lights, but I had to power it first. So I had to take A white wire, if you remember earlier, I was telling you that white wires are your main power wires. In this case, according to the 68 wiring diagram, the white with the brown stripe goes here. The blue goes on here. Thereby, when I flip the switch up, it energizes tail light, gauge lights, the running light, the headlight. It powers them all up. And if you shut the switch off, it just shuts off all lighting.
Oh, that's what you want.
And that's how you want it, yes. Now, originally in this 68, this red light would have been a power on light, and it always would be on and never goes out. Okay, so we didn't want that. We want to run a oil sending. So I run a wire from here. If you take an ohm meter to a sending unit and you ohm it from here to the blade, it ohms out. So it's normally closed. So when you start the bike, oil pressure opens the switch and cuts it, and then it's open. So what that means is I bring one wire all the way up, and where this light would have originally been, this red wire would have been originally unplugged, and it would have been plugged into here with the rest of the reds, and then it would be on all the time as soon as you turn the key on. But I took the red out of there and I plugged it into this wire that I brought up from down here at the sending unit and plugged it into the ground. So that makes the circuit. It's making and breaking by the ground.
Yeah, so when the engine has oil pressure, the light goes out.
The light will go out, exactly. And so then the Zener diode's back here behind. It plugs in, that's the big plug. And it's brown with a white wire. And so forth. Now, the only thing we got left at this point, oh, and there's wires up here on the ammeter. That's where the brown and the white wire from the Zener go, and the brown and the blue. These are your main power wires from the battery all the way back, because your main power that goes to the battery on your fuse is a brown with a blue. So this is a load. This wire goes all the way through the loom, goes all the way up to here, and it goes on this side of the amp meter. Then the brown with the white wire, which is also down on the Zener, and that goes on the other side. And then that makes the connection to make all the power work.
Right, it's like a bridge. And
It is a bridge.
You can bypass the switch if you didn't want that amp meter gauge.
Then you just put them together.
Yep.
You could put both of these wires on one post if the gauge is no good, and then it just wouldn't work, but you'd have power. That's how you're going to make power.
Because that gauge doesn't really tell a big story anyway.
No. So,
But when it moves or whatever, you know you got power happening from the alternator.
now in order to get ground on these two gauges, we made a jumper from this gauge bolt that bolts it to this, and we run it across and touch the other one and on a ground, and then the ground from the loom is also on one of them.
Yeah, so with the wiring harness did not come with that. We had to make that.
The jumper.
And then it didn't come with the yellow and blacks going down to the points wire. I didn't see that in the wiring harness either. We had to come up with that one in a pile of wires we had left over. And the other one we had to make on our own was that oil pressure switch thing. So
everything else is all there and just like it's supposed to be.
yeah.
And at this point, our wiring is done. We made the alternator connection back here.
Oh yeah, we talked about that.
It's right here. It's green with a yellow and green with a white stripe, and they plug in to this set of wires that is right over here on this side that goes all the way down.
Those are the only green ones on this wiring harness.
Yeah.
Or the ones that have green anyway. So I think that covers it pretty much.
Well, those two wires go over here. If you go to the other side, these two alternator wires follow up and go all the way across here. And see, the green and white one goes to one blade on the rectifier, and the other green and white wire go on to the other blade of the rectifier on the outside two. The center one, so these are AC because this is an AC alternator, and a rectifier converts AC to DC, and the DC comes out of the center. And there's your brown. This is where the brown with a white stripe begins, and it goes from here, it goes all the way up, goes to the Zener diode, and goes to the amp gauge, and then starts to spread out through the rest of the bike. So hopefully I made that fairly simple to understand. There was a grounding point right here, and we grounded it to the motor. And this way we know our motor is grounded. We put it under this screw and tighten it up because this screw screws into this and this is screwed to that, and it's all, so it makes, I can touch anywhere and get good continuity now. So we know the motor's grounded. And we got to take and I made a jumper already. We have to take, and when we hook up this coil, we have to take a jumper from here, basically like take it from one of these bolts that go from there to a coil.
Yeah, because we're going to be
So
wiring.
that way both coils are grounded. Right now, if I try to ohm this from here to here, it doesn't work. So the paint it's isolating it.
And the jumper
It's got
wire
to be
you're talking
grounded.
about, it's going to be involved with the tri-spark we put in.
Yes.
Otherwise, that wouldn't be a standard thing anyway.
Right. And that's
We have
coming
to
up
have 'em-
next, right?
Yeah, we have to have them grounded. So I guess it kind of concludes everything here. We need an overview of everything, and next up we'll be installing a tri-spark. That'll be our next video, and then we'll be ready to, I don't know, do some more stuff to this thing. So
We got to put carburetors,
Yeah.
exhaust, and
yeah, so I hope you enjoyed everything, and we'll see you again soon.
it's like